Hi, everybody. We're going to do another 2028 election prediction. This time we have J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, up against J.D. Vance, the future vice president. So let's just get right into it. A lot of it's going to depend on Trump's approval rating. I mean, it really is whether Trump's approval rating is above 50, then Vance is definitely the favorite. If his Trump's approval rating's in like the low 40s, then Vance is an underdog. That's how I would gauge this. So I'm going to assume that Trump's approval rating's probably in the 45% range or upper 40s, somewhere around there, because I think that's the best for like a neutral environment scenario. So yeah, let's just get into some of the safe states. Now, I did do some reading on J.B. Pritzker. He had a decent run as governor of Illinois. He raised the minimum wage there, which is probably a popular policy, and he legalized marijuana. So maybe he's not as weak as I think, but I think him being a billionaire is definitely going to hurt him with Democrats because, again, Democrats typically don't like billionaires. So let's just get right into it. So starting off with Iowa and Ohio, these are just going to be safe red states. Same with Florida and Texas. I just don't think Pritzker can appeal that well to these very trending red states at this point. So I think they're all going to be over 10% Vance victories. Alaska is probably also going to go R plus 10. Nebraska second. I actually think Pritzker would do better than Harris in this district, so I think it'd be about a likely blue one. And let's just keep on moving. So I think Virginia and New Mexico stay about the same in this scenario. So up in Maine and New Hampshire, I do think Pritzker would win Maine by a likely blue margin. Same with first district, while the second remains under a 10-point margin. So that's a good enough margin if Jared Golden's still running in that House district. So he would probably hang on in that scenario. In New Hampshire, it could go likely blue here. It wouldn't lean blue last time in 2024, but I still think it would just be a 4% win for J.B. Pritzker. So he improves on Harris's margin in this state, but not by enough to win it by a likely blue margin. Now, in New Jersey, he did kind of underperform in Illinois. Pritzker, he only won by like 12 to 13% in 2022. But again, in New Jersey, I do think he would probably still carry it by a likely blue margin. I don't think it would go down to lean blue. Another thing is, will New Jersey keep trending Republican? That's a real question. So that's something to keep an eye on in the governor's race in New Jersey coming up in 2025. But I think Pritzker would still carry the state by about 6 or 7 points, similar to Virginia now. In North Carolina and Georgia, I don't think Pritzker has really any southern appeal here unless he picks like a VP from one of these two states to make them competitive. But for now, I think Vance would probably carry Georgia by a tilt R margin just because I do think that Atlanta area is still trending blue is going to be a problem for Republicans in the future, while North Carolina goes by a lean Republican margin. In Arizona and Nevada, so far in Arizona, Republicans have built a pretty sizable voter registration advantage. So I think that advantage is probably going to continue here in Arizona. In Nevada, Republicans did really well with Latino voters. Trump, I think, tied them in Nevada or even won them according to some exit polls, which is kind of crazy to think about. So really, Democrats have a Nevada problem going on in the future. But I think they're going to be able to win some of those Latinos back, especially if Trump does deport millions of illegal immigrants. I think that's going to make some Latino voters mad. So I think we're probably going to see it trend a little bit back towards Democrats this time in 2028. So I'm going to put this as tilt Republican. Still a narrow Republican advantage, though. So now the election comes down to the Rust Belt states. So in Minnesota, I actually think J.B. Pritzker would improve upon Harris's margin in this state, winning it by a likely blue margin instead of lean blue. In Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, however, I do think Pritzker would be able to get Wisconsin down to tilt R, but that would result in a loss for him. In Pennsylvania, I think that would be about lean Republican. In Michigan, I'd probably put it as about tilt. I think it would be decently close, but Again, I just don't think Pritzker would have the best chances here of him being a billionaire. I think that would hurt him among Democratic constituencies. So I think he would lose to JD Vance in pretty much the same map as the 2024 election. But there's a lot more tilt states this time around, but I think that Vance would probably have the advantage here if he were running against Pritzker. If there's any state that could possibly change, maybe Wisconsin, because he is from neighboring Illinois, but I think that's probably the most likely map if Pritzker is the nominee. So if you're new to this channel and do you enjoy content like this, highly recommend subscribing. I'd greatly appreciate it. Other than that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.